Hi, this is one bunch of projects. Today, I'm going to do something special. We're going to dive into a main event. Our contender, Alex O'Connor. Alex O'Connor is a YouTuber called CosmicSkeptic. He is a prominent British atheist and a science communicator. He has garnered a significant amount of followings through his thought-provoking content, which primarily focus on atheism, science, and philosophy. Alex is renowned for his articulate and well-reasoned argument, often challenging all different religions and promoting skepticism. What is the main argument that Alex O'Connor has for atheism? Let us see the video.
But my first argument, and it's going to be the first of three, against the viability of theism, flows from the demonstrable fact that this divine consolation is seemingly not offered universally, and often in fact restricted from those who want it the most. I'm going to be making the claim specifically that atheism or naturalism provides a better account for three facts of our universe. The first being the hiddenness of God, the second being the geographical, statistical arrangement, shall we say, of religious belief, and the third will be the problem of gratuitous suffering. And
Number 1, divine hiddenness of God. Number 2, geolocation of people determine their belief system. And lastly is suffering, or we can say the evil in this world. In this video, he highlighted there are two types of non-believer. One is a resistant non-believer, and another is a non-resistant non-believer. Alex himself claims that he is a non-resistant non-believer. He asserts that despite studying theology, he has a degree in theology and participating in a lot of Bible studies, making his utmost effort to seek God. He found nothing. He heard nothing from God. And from this, he concluded that God doesn't exist. So, is he a non-resistant non-believer? Today, let me answer Alex's first question first and examine whether he is truly a non-resistant non-believer. Number 1, let us look at the argument of design. Let's look at an analogy from Ray Comfort.
No.
Do you believe in God?
No.
So you're an atheist?
Yes.
Why?
I don't think there's enough proof to say that there is a God.
If I gave you proof, would you change your mind?
Yeah, it would have to be pretty good proof.
I can give you pretty good proof, absolute scientific proof, in about 1 minute. Should we give it a try?
Sure.
Every building is proof of a builder. Every painting is scientific proof of a painter. We know that because a building cannot build itself, it's impossible, and a painting cannot paint itself. Builder could have died 100 years ago, but you know there was a builder because the building's there. Painter could have died 300 years ago, but you know there was a painter because paintings don't paint themselves. Creation is evidence of a creator. Flowers and birds and trees, the sun, the moon, the stars, puppies and kittens, male and female, the seasons, the fruits, all these things are evidence of the genius of God's creative hand. An atheist believes the scientific impossibility that nothing created everything. That's your alternative. That's where you fall back to. If you believe there was no creator, then everything was created by nothing, not from nothing, but by nothing, and that's scientifically impossible. Nothing cannot create anything because it's nothing.
If we do not see a builder, does it mean the builder doesn't exist? If the builder himself personally didn't tell me that he built the building, does it mean that the building pop out of nowhere, just come into existence? If we find documents, the blueprint of the building, showing how the building is built, Is this evidence of an intelligent designer? And we can know who the designer is or the builder is? The logical point of the first clause and fine-tuning is an Achilles heel to the atheist view. The probability of creation coming into existence out of nothing and randomly, it is so small and it is almost impossible compared to the belief of a creator God. As Dr. Frank Turk says, he has a book, I do not have enough faith to be an atheist. Faith required to be an atheist is much more higher than a theistic belief. Look at the second point, science and creation.
Before evolution can even start, you have to have that first cell. Nobody has ever made a cell in the laboratory. Nobody's ever even come close, and nobody even has an idea on how to do it. The general public thinks that scientists have made simple, complex organisms like frogs, small complex organisms like frogs in the lab. We've not even made a cell. We don't even know how to make a cell, and everybody is thrown off on this thing. And this whole idea of the primordial soup model that everybody hears about in school, which is molecules were in a pond, there were some lightning strikes, those formed the right sort of molecules that came together, that formed a cell, the cells came together and formed these organisms that came out of some pool of water. That is the typical model that is actually not just for fourth graders. That is spoken about even in advanced textbooks in the universities. I'm talking about advanced textbooks for graduate students in university. That's the extent of the model, and that is fallacious.
Till now, science has not been able to create a cell. Even with our intelligence, with all the lab tools, with all the technology we have, it is still impossible. How did the first cell come into existence randomly and out of nothing? Number 2, the DNA is like a blueprint of life.
So life appears to be grounded in genetic information. How does the existence of information in the cell point to a designer?
Well, you can use a very simple argument. If you're walking along the beach in Brighton and you see in the sand, John loves Mary, you don't assume the waves did that.
Sure.
Or crabs came out of the water and made that message. You know that a message, even a short message like John loves Mary, requires a mind, because natural forces don't create messages. And so a short message like that, if that requires a mind, how about a message 3.2 billion letters long in every one of our 32 or every one of our 40 trillion cells?
Yeah.
That's got to come from a mind as well. Even Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft, said DNA is like a computer program, but it's far, far more advanced than any software we've ever created. Well, where I come from, if there's a program, there's got to be a programmer. If there's a code, there's got to be a coder. If there's a message, there's got to be a messenger. And so what we see in DNA is really, it's like binary code. And binary code only comes from a mind. It doesn't come from an impersonal force. It doesn't come from the four natural forces of nature, strong and weak nuclear forces, electromagnetism, and gravity. You don't get messages from those things.
Sure.
And every living thing has a message. Even the simplest living thing, an amoeba, has at least 1,000 volumes worth of an encyclopedia of information in it.
Wow.
Even Richard Dawkins admits that. Well, where does that come from? It can't come from natural forces. It comes from a mind. And I know the atheists are going to quickly say, oh, this is a God of the gaps argument. No, it's not a God of the gaps argument. We're not arguing from a gap in our knowledge. When you see John loves Mary on the sand, you don't just lack a natural explanation for that. You don't just have a gap in your knowledge about natural forces. It's that John loves Mary is positive, empirically verifiable evidence for an intelligent cause.
Yes.
Same thing is true with our genetic code. So we're arguing from what we do know, not from what...
Just like what I said earlier, the blueprint of a building. This blueprint of life is evidence of an intelligent creator. And furthermore, the fine-tuning argument, which also speaks about how the universe are precisely tuned to set for life to be able to exist. This suggests that there is an intelligent creator or designer behind all this. Let us look into philosophical argument. In this video,
it is what we are.
But if Hitler or Stalin comes along and says, I don't want to be altruistic, I want to be selfish and take everything for myself, and if I have to kill you to do that, I'm going to do that, why is that objectively wrong?
Because he is not taking care of other people.
Who said it's... Where are you getting this standard to this objective standard that you ought to take care of people? Where does that come from if there's no God?
So I'm just going to talk about a little example that I know of and some others. So there's 3 different points I'd like to make. First off, we still exist. If we did not take care of each other as a social species, we would have very, very limited capabilities of still existing. We need to band together. We need to take care of each other. We need to be friendly to one another.
That's presupposing that survival is a good thing. Why is it a good thing? And why us surviving? Why not roaches? Or antelope? Or black widow spiders?
Why do you need the concept of good there? We're still surviving, and we're being nice, kind to each other. We are being caring for one another.
Forgive me, Nathaniel, but you're stealing the standard of goodness from God's universe to try and make your worldview work. But if there is no objective, authoritative moral standard beyond us, then atheism doesn't work.
You know, I think you're right.
the moral argument points to an objective moral value exists, and for this, God must exist as the foundation of this moral objective. So, our sense of right and wrong points directly to a moral lawgiver. Let us look into the next point, the historical evidence of Jesus. The historical reliability of the New Testament shows that Jesus has lived, died, and also resurrected. This is historically accurate and is recorded down. And we can see this truthfully by seeing how the early church grows as the disciples are willing to die for this truth that they believe in. If they do not believe in this, they will never die for it. So, now, looking at all these points, why does Alex say that God is hidden? Is he really a non-resistant non-believer when all this information are out there, readily available to him? With his intelligence and his background in theology, he should know all this. Even the famous Richard Dawkins has no answer for fine-tuning and first class. Let us look what does Richard Dawkins says if God appears right in front of him.
What would it take for you to believe in God?
Well, I used to say it would be very simple. It would be, the second coming of Jesus, or a great big, deep, booming bass Paul Robeson voice saying, "I am God and I created." But I was persuaded mostly by actually Steve Zara, who's a regular contributor to my website, richarddawkins.net. He more or less persuaded me that even if there was this booming voice and the second coming in clouds of glory, the more probable explanation is that it's a hallucination. Or
what would persuade you?
Well, I'm starting to think nothing would.
Look at what Richard Dawkins said. This is a hallucination. Richard Dawkins is delusional. He's getting old. To be fair, we cannot compare Alex with Richard Dawkins, as Dawkins is 100% confirmed a resistant non-believer. Does God have to personally speak to someone to prove his existence? Even with these mountains of evidence behind us. One of my Camino revelation that I have is that human can be very, very, very intelligent, but can be also at the same time super ignorant and delusional. Is Alex ignorant to say that God is hidden, even with all these mountains of evidence, his background in theological study, and all his efforts to seek God? Furthermore, we look at all the evidence of science, history, and all points to a creator God. Did Alex come into all this predetermined that God doesn't exist? Is he truly a non-resistant non-believer? In the next video, we will address Alex's next point and on why he doesn't believe in a creator God. Till next time, this is One Punch Apologetics. If you like the video, please share and like it. Man.